Am I?
Oh.
Hey! I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this whole multi-broadcast thing that we're doing for it's like week 2 now, right? Week 2. This will be crossing my fingers. I got my fingers crossed to make sure that it goes well. Is it going well?
I don't know if they can hear us. I didn't know last time either. Somebody give us a thumbs up in the comments.
Can you hear us? Anyone? Bueller?
Oh, so how are you doing today, Dan?
Joe, I am doing well. It's kind of hot here in Japan, but I like to keep things spicy. And yeah, it's so good. Well, that actually, Michael Manos, that was West Side. Okay, so Wu-Tang as well. We'll accept Wu-Tang. Yes. Yeah, Dan throwing up gang signs. Woke up quick at around noon. Knew that had to be in Compton soon. You know, all that good stuff. So anyway, right. So, okay. Yeah. So yes. Everybody can hear us. That's awesome. Anyway, so the last week has been really eventful. As some of you might know, we have been putting out our catalyst proposals for Fund 10 for the Cardano Catalyst Fund for all these different cross-chain initiatives. One of them being Rosenbridge, and as some of you might have seen, we have teamed up with Spectrum to become launch accelerators for Rosenbridge. And so what that means is basically we're going to facilitate various things for them so that Rosen finally goes mainnet, finally gets adopted, finally starts getting used. For that, we're also working on an incentive structure for stakeable operators to become basically become validators. There's different names for them in Rosen, but essentially they're validators for Rosen on the Cardano side. So this has actually been received really well by both communities. We're really happy about that, and it really will create a really nice new income stream for stakeable operators, which I think is great, especially in the current market. So another one that we worked on or are working on is so basically rapid ecosystem building for underserved commodities, which actually has to do a lot with what we're doing at Zengate, but also it utilizes Ergo components for traceability. And so finally, what we're also offering is an open source version of the Winter protocol, which is going to be powering the Palmyra Comdex, which basically is a traceability and tokenization protocol built on Ergo that utilizes and leverages Ergo assets like Ergo NFTs. So yeah, it's really it's really exciting. We got Ergoversary that's been going on. I will have a video up really soon, guys. Just been super busy. Still talking to funds, still trying to figure out how to get some more money on into the ecosystem. So that's in process. So yeah, a lot is happening. What about you, Joe? What's going on your end?
I'm still trying to dig my way through all the Ergoversary content, Dan. That was pretty awesome this last weekend, seeing all the different videos coming out, but I haven't had the bandwidth to digest everything, right? So I hope those of you that are watching this, had at least some time to tune in, catch some videos. There's some really neat development. I was really happy to see Guap Swap submit a video. You could look at Gluon, the new protocol that Bruno, the character who created AgeUSD, the protocol behind SigUSD, is going to come out with a newer one.
I like that you call Bruno a character because he is a character. He's a good character, but he definitely is a character.
There's a lot of content out. We had the developer update yesterday. I'll be working with CW hopefully tonight to kind of get a recap going for everybody that wants to watch a video and stay up to date on the latest and greatest in the Ergo ecosystem. So yeah, it's pretty big. I don't know. Every growth tends to come in phases in blockchain, right? Where there's a period where everybody is kind of has their heads down building pretty intensely, and then there's a generally excitement, and then we go through like this wave of kind of innovation. And I think that as the whole, our ecosystem is moving towards kind of another development wave, right? It's kind of strange that it works like that, but it tends to, where in parallel we have a lot of big projects, duck pools, Rosen, a lot of new primitives coming potentially in DeFi. You have something like Crux that's coming out that hopefully aggregates and gives a better user experience. So a lot to watch and track. It's kind of beyond my own bandwidth, right, to stay up to date on everything. And I'm one of the people that tries to stay up to date on everything and keep the community up to date. And that's becoming more and more of a jello, which is awesome.
Well, that's a good thing. Yeah. That's a good thing. And it's not that you're slacking off. It's just the ecosystem is getting so big that it's impossible for you to keep track of everything. I mean, I can tell you Cardano, I used to, even a couple of years ago, I used to know every single project on Cardano. Can't say that anymore. Just because the ecosystem is so much bigger. The same with Ergo. I mean, there will come a time that neither you nor I will be able to name all the Ergo projects, and not because we're not super involved in the ecosystem, but it's because the ecosystem is so big. There's no way for us to know all the projects. And that's a good thing. It's a distributed ecosystem. So it's good. It's good. I'm happy. I'm happy if I'm doing my job and I still can't name all the projects. I'm happy about that. That means the ecosystem has expanded. It means the ecosystem has reached a critical mass. So that's it's definitely a good thing. Definitely. All right. Let's see. We got some questions today, like we usually do. Let's see. What's a good question to start with? So Joe, speaking of that character Bruno, what are your thoughts on Bruno's suggestions of either updating existing SigUSD or use Gluon W plus minus, or leave it as is and make a completely new stablecoin instead? What do you think about that?
Ooh, that's a heavy question.
It is. We're going to start heavy.
Yeah, let's I guess pick it apart a little bit. Okay, so number one, Gluon is new, right? So I think that the conservative approach would be that it needs to go through a period of battle testing before we get serious and have that discussion. I think long term it's good. People are bringing this up already, but time is the one thing that tends to show strong designs, right? And so I think that it should go through a period of battle testing, stability, instability, make sure that it's solid before we seriously consider that, right? Now, I tend to be somebody who leans very heavily on the idea of immutability, right? What that means is that, sometimes when you change the rules mid-game, people get hurt. You also naturally have an attack vector there that could potentially be exploited and create an issue with DeFi protocols. Now, SigUSD, the conception of it, V1 was really messy, right? And so it kind of forced the people involved to, let's just say, react quickly, because there was a vulnerability there that was getting essentially attacked by the bear whale. I don't know if So those of you, that are around remember that whole saga. So when we, the Ergo team and people that helped build that updated it, we said, okay, well, this is a patch, right? And part of that patch was having governance tokens for SigUSD. So there is a model, or at least a pretty clear path to update it. Now, my personal preference would be that, okay, I understand, given the history and being around in that process, that, it does kind of make sense to have some governance, because it wasn't like something that we could sit down and really think out over the long term. It was reactionary. It was a patch, right? And luckily that patch, the update that was pushed with SigUSD v2, kind of closed that attack vector that the bear whale was exploiting. So we do have the ability to update it. And, oddly enough, here I am with a governance token, and I'm the guy that's like, I don't think that's a wise choice long term. But, sometimes you have ideals and then life comes and kicks you in the ass, and you kind of have to adapt on the fly, right? So my personal preference long term would be, let's be conservative. Let's see how Gluon reacts, holds stability, let it be battle tested. Let's let the community ideally vote in some way. I'm sure that there are a variety of ideas that can come up in terms of, let's say, large people that have exposure in that protocol to get their thoughts, because ultimately they're the ones that are the players on the field. And I hate being the guy saying, hey, everybody, we're going to change the rules mid-game, right? So it would be good to have some, some long-term clarity from people that are invested to, say, hey, this is a possibility. And I would say I've, in receiving that governance token, my goal was always use it once and then burn it, right? Put it in something where, it's just no longer accessible, and then move back towards the idea of immutability, because, having, I guess, that governance in DeFi protocols can be really, really dangerous. Sometimes there's like excessive tinkering, and, then you have to ask the question, is that, going to be political or profit driven, or, if I can change the rules of the game, why would I not change it in my favor? So I've never been too much of a fan of governance in that type of protocol. But given the history, it is kind of what it is. So hopefully I'll be able to delete it one day, one way or the other. That's my long-term thinking.
Yeah, I think you got that question pretty good. Hopefully, Augustus Kent is happy with that answer. Augustus always gives us really good questions. So, thanks for that. Okay, so we'll take a quick one from Bison Buffalo. Can you speak on Ergo and relationships with universities? So obviously we have a relationship with SWU out of Bangkok, who are going to be doing the Ergo course. I am also speaking to several universities right now. One of them is several European universities. And later on, probably next month, I'm going to be visiting a couple of American universities while I'm in the U.S. All of these are aimed to basically try and incorporate different types of courses into, because SWU is more of a, I guess, trade specific for what SWU does. I would like to see more business-oriented courses and more developer-oriented courses. So that's what we're going to be what I am going to be doing in the next couple of months. But as of right now, like I said, there's one relationship with SWU out of Bangkok and another relationship with a very nice accredited, really a well-known and accredited university out of Western Europe. So I'll give you more updates as they come out as we have things signed. All right, let's go to another one here. Okay, here's a good question. Okay, so this is from S Start. What do you think about the recent meme wars? I keep wanting to say mem wars, and I know it's meme wars. With Pepperg. I don't even know how am I supposed to pronounce it. Pepperg? Is it Pepperg? Pepperg? I don't know. Anyway, coming on the scene, do you think that meme coins are good, bad for Ergo? Okay, so, I guess some people saw my comments during the meme coin thing that was happening on Cardano and somewhat on Ergo about, a month, 2 months ago. So are meme coins bad for Ergo? No, it's not. Are they good for Ergo? It's a subjective thing. If it's something that you like, if it's something that is fun for you, then it's good. If it's something where you're thinking that it is going to create generational wealth for you, that's bad. Okay, that's the whole thing. It's all about how you come into it, right? You can have fun with meme coins. Well, you can meme. It's they're meme coins, so do some memes. Have fun with that. But don't dump your life savings, and not even remotely. Don't dump your salary into a meme coin thing that is going to make you rich, because chances are really, really high that it'll get you wrecked, and it's really, really stupid. So yeah, it's good because it gives variety, it gives kind of color to the community, and that's cool. I like that. A meme coin can actually have a positive effect on the community if they if they work with the community and do other things besides just shit post and screw around. But again, that's up to each individual team. So again, like I said, to me, it's subjective. There are good choices you can make with meme coins. There are bad choices you can make with meme coins. So they can be good and they can be bad for the ecosystem. It just depends on what the culture around the meme coin is and what it's really doing in the ecosystem and to the ecosystem. Because some meme coins are super toxic to an ecosystem, right? There have been many meme coins out there that have just been completely toxic and just basically giving people the opportunity to pump and dump and and use other people for exit liquidity, and there have been some meme coins that are out there just basically having fun and then actually use their use their popularity, quote unquote, for good. Like, for example, on Ergo, Hosky started off as just screwing around and just having a good time, but he when he kind of got his stride, he did a lot of good for the ecosystem. He promoted single stake pool operators. He encouraged decentralization. That team did quite a bit of good. That team, they encourage decentralization and incentives for various single pool operators right now by doing what they call rug pools. So yeah, it could have a good effect on the ecosystem, and it could also have a shitty effect on the ecosystem. So again, it depends. Well, what do you think, Joe?
Oh, my general stance on meme coins has always been that I don't know your risks. I look at it like a casino. Generally, I tend to say I'd rather go to a real casino because the drinks are free. So my assumption is at least I'll have a good time, even if I, get rugged by the house, right? Meme coins are an interesting. I don't know. They're an interesting aspect of crypto. It's like, okay, well, I guess number one, you have the ability potentially to have like a known auditable supply from Genesis. and sometimes even in developed projects, that's a challenge, right? You can have Solana saying, hey, this is our circulating supply, and then turns out it's not. Or, I think even like as recent as like last week, Algorand had some, thing where they're like, oh, we miscalculated the amount of coins in circulation, right? So that's kind of interesting that there's like a known supply that can be.
I think in the business that's called pulling a Solana.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, then you also have. It depends how liquidity comes to market too. Like there are a lot of projects where you have an inside allocation that's released on a certain schedule that's not really based on any like practical milestone. It's just time based. So, if you dump some money in a project, you'll get a unlock at a certain time period without necessarily even delivering anything. And that emission schedule that's oftentimes given to seed investors. Sometimes it outpaces how supply is released to the public, right? So then it's kind of like insiders have the ability to dump on the public faster than the natural emission schedule. And sometimes I scratch my head and say, well, is a meme coin more honest than that, right? Now the one thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is we tend to live in, I don't know, social media reality where attention seeking is like whoever makes the most noise gets the most attention, right? And that is actually really terrible for having constructive thought and good discussions in the crypto space, right? It's you look at a lot of I don't know, quote unquote influencers in our industry. The main word that comes to my mind is just ridiculous, right? It's like if you can be as ridiculous and as loud and as shiny as possible, you get attention, and then attention for some short-term period converts into, I guess some sales in some sense, right? So there's a lot of people that are memes in the crypto space. Now, do I take meme wars seriously? No, it's internet drama, right? Like at the end of the day, it's like who's going to win a fight, Superman or Batman, right? Well, they're kind of both comics. I can't get too emotionally vested in that. Are they good or bad? I don't know. I think you can launch a token where the distribution is at least known and relatively fair, and you don't have someone rug, but you can look at like the Ethereum ecosystem. There's a new rug every 5 minutes, right? And has that been a net negative for Ethereum? In a way, yes, I think so. I think it's turned a lot of people that potentially could come into the space and use the tools that the technology has to offer. But the clown car keeps moving. And so I with the meme coins, I just say, okay, well, people are gonna, have different risk thresholds in what they do. But, don't forget you're dealing with something that is a newer form of money, right? And so, that even though it's sometimes, I don't know, numbers in a digital wallet, right? That is something that, you should probably have some risk assessment with and know what you're getting into and make sure you're not, I don't know, investing in that what you can't afford to lose, and just use common sense. But sometimes, in meme land, common sense goes out the window.
Sometimes, most time it goes out the window. Joe is being too kind.
It reminds me, once I logged into Twitter and there was like, my full page was NFT projects like fighting over who's the better NFT. And it's like, okay. I don't know how to respond to that, to be honest. I can't take it too seriously. And the same is true with meme wars. So I don't know if you're going to have a meme war, keep it above the belt, please, and don't rug each other. Right? That's some good,
Yeah.
long-term advice.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, it can be a circus. All right. So let's see. We got another question about why no PR, but you know what? Let's. Oh well, you know, Joe, we got a question or a comment from Quality Extreme. And he says, Joe, maybe it's a good time to recap your stance and assumptions for everyone watching.
No, it's just to recognize that, when within these systems, there's always potential points of failure, right? You can look at that from, the network itself to like the security distribution of the network, depending on how it's set up. With meme coins, you inherit a brand new set of assumptions you can explore in terms of how it could fail. And I think it's always a good idea to sit down and have, try to assess, what you're getting into. I could use the example. One thing that I really like about the Ergo ecosystem that I think is unique from Genesis is like, if you're going to look at the survivability of a blockchain, you need to look at the long-term security incentive, if you're here long-term anyway. And so, for Ergo, that has to do with storage rent, demurrage. Second is governance, because sometimes you hit points where, you're, I don't know, kind of in situations where you need to react or have some consensus that follows you. And if there's no governance built in, it gets messy and ecosystems fracture, right? And there's a lot of projects that, the long-term security incentive is let's push out emissions 100 years and, our great-grandchildren can figure that out. The governance model is, I don't know, and it's messy, right? Where there's, maybe there's one entity that'll react, and I guess in some way, it's not so decentralized in the end because there's no real governance, or there is like, at least like when proof of work hash power splitting, and then you have Bitcoin Gold and Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin this and Bitcoin that, and it gets messy. So, in terms of assumptions, it's recognizing risks, right? And whenever you're talking about money and someone says, hey, this is risk-free, they're lying. 100% of the time they're lying.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think knowing your assumptions is about challenging that and looking at risk first and opportunity second, which, let's be honest, when you have a lot of people with a very, very short, focus in terms of time. I want to buy this in 100x next week and then sell it and move on to the next thing. And, that type of thinking goes out the window. But when we're looking at like a core protocol development, that's actually really, really important. It's kind of part of the Ergo manifesto is, okay, we need long-term vision to where, in theory, is it sustainable?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think Quality Extreme is going to be really happy. You covered it. Okay, here's another question. So what can the community learn from the HODL ERG failure? There was a lucky escape for lots of us due to a good faith community member. So Joe, what can we learn from that?
Well, yeah, we have to start by thanking Crass. Everybody should tip their hat to him, so to speak. From my perspective, okay, I wasn't necessarily involved in HODL, and to be honest, it was 4th of July weekend, so I was camping. I came back and learned this from Alex, like, oops, things got a little messy. From my perspective, one thing you can do is look at history. Okay, Ergo's not been around that long, but the two issues that have been, let's say, came out, well, one of which was SIG USD V1, the other one is kind of the initial hold Ergo launch, had to do with pushing things to market around events, right? And that's the wrong way to build, in my opinion. I know that people get excited, and you can say, let's look at Rosenbridge as an example. It's something that's been refined and refactored, and unit tested and bug tested, and so everyone says, "Hey, win, 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 win," right? And sometimes I think it's best to look at it just like food. It's done when it's done, right? Now that's not popular. That's not a popular thing to say to people, because then I don't know, they want something to be excited about, I guess. But I think that the grander lesson there for now and for future development on Ergo is that we should go through proper unit testing, proper stress tests, testnet, and ignore dates. Now, I think that it would have been totally fine if they would have said, "Hey, we're building this holder, and this is where we are," and da 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 da. But it's fascinating to me anyway that day one, what's the first thing that tends to happen is everybody jumps in, right? And so from the user side, I get that the early bird gets the worm, right? The early worm gets eaten. So balance that, but I do think that getting away from this idea of pushing things based on a arbitrary date is just the wrong way to let's say, bring things to market. Now, it'll get refined. We got very lucky. Crash stepped in, kind of saved everybody. Appreciate that. But that long term, I think that's the lesson.
So Joe, so maybe some people don't know what happened. So can you summarize what happened with HODL Erg?
I guess it was an exploit. To be honest, I wasn't that involved. And by the time I got online, Crassifus reviewed the contract, found a potential exploit, said, "Hey, I'm going to white hat it and airdrop everybody's Erg back." And then the protocol will become, a little bit more resilient. So I guess at the end of the day, on the development side, please take your time, unit test, forget about the social pressure and timing, and just build things right. And on the user side, there's nothing wrong with sitting back, giving things a little bit of time, and seeing how they respond to being battle tested. So I think there's a lesson for both.
Yeah, totally. So let's see. Here's another. Okay, so. Okay, so this is. Okay, so I'll have you tackle this first, Joe, and then I'll kind of give my input on this from more of a commercial side. So. Here is the question. What are the pros and cons of Ergo or a sidechain of Ergo acting as a scaling solution for Bitcoin compared to approaches such as Lightning Network, WBTC, Ethereum, CKBTC from the Insane Clown Posse, also known as the Internet Computer Protocol, etc. So what are the pros and cons, Joe?
Oh, it depends on the setup. That's a really, really broad question. I would say generally speaking, most scaling solutions and most cross-chain solutions come with a trade-off in assumptions, right? Where you basically get less security for greater throughput. You can look at things that are built on top of multi-sig assumptions, as an example. Whatever the threshold set is in that multi-sig is usually a smaller set of actors, but things, you get a benefit, right? So there's a trade-off there. You can look at like zero knowledge ceremonies that require some kind of trusted setup. It's basically the same thing. One, I guess, interesting thing, zero knowledge proofs are fascinating. I think that long-term, there will probably be some industry standards, but I certainly don't think we're there yet. And you can say, well, you can validate proofs afterwards and potentially dispute, but at that point, problems already happened, right? And hopefully it's caught. So the general assumption everybody needs to understand with scaling solutions is, okay, you do get this pro of throughput or batching, but what is the trade-off? And it's always pretty much the security assumption, right? And leaving layer one, going somewhere else. With side chains, okay, you do have a network with kind of its own consensus, but then you have to bridge, right? And bridging tends to, you get into the same, I guess, trade-off where, what are the assumptions, and are you talking about things that are just sending proofs, and it tends to not end well in that realm. There are a lot of different approaches to scaling. Usually there's a certain set of trade-offs, some benefits. Let's see. I think that as a space, it's something that we'll definitely see some maturity with in probably the next, 5 years. But I think we're also going to see some failure, and then we get into this idea of let's be the Coinbase rollup, right? Where there's one validator at the end of the day. That's a weird situation too, because it's kind of you can't even claim it's distributed or decentralized, right? It's like a weird off-chain world that could potentially be its own little regulatory environment. Maybe that's good, maybe that's not, depending on how it's used. I don't know. I know that there's always this thinking in the crypto space, let's be first over the hill, right? And sometimes first over the hill is first to end up on the end of a spear. We always have to go back to that early bird gets the worm, early worm gets eaten idea, and say, sometimes it's not a bad idea to hang back, look at our own assumptions, what's acceptable for scaling, what actually, tends to have pretty good assumptions, and then learn from everybody else that's failing or succeeding.
I mean, you covered it pretty well, and actually covered it really well. Just my answer is much simpler, and it's actually pretty much what you said. What are the pros of any kind of scaling solution, especially? Ergo is Ergo. It's just good tech. What are the pros of using any kind of scaling solution for Bitcoin? You can scale Bitcoin. What are the cons of using a scaling solution for Bitcoin? You're using a scaling solution. That means you're not going through L1. You're going through you're basically going through L2, and you got your it kind of more attack vectors open up. So to me, it's very clear. Not just with Ergo, but with anything. As soon as you get off L1, you open yourself up for attack vectors or more attack vectors. And so it's a trade-off. It's all about the trade-off. Do you want to go bigger and faster, or do you want to go safer? So that's my take on this. All right. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. All right. So just a little bit, I was asking the combination of duck pools and Rosen Bridge together could be huge for Ergo. Is there a plan for a marketing push around these? So, Rosen, obviously, yes, because we're we're doing all this stuff now. We're doing Catalyst. Zengate and the EF and the Spectrum have joined forces to accelerate it, to get it adopted, to get it rolled out. So there's definitely a plan for marketing out there. I mean, we're going to be marketing it. We're going to be marketing it for the Cardano ecosystem, and then further on to other EUTXO chains. As far as duck pools or a combination of duck pools, I mean, I don't think there's anything like that in planned. Is there, Joe?
I'm sure there will be. It's a good it's a good question, and I think we should almost piggyback on top of the whole situation with Hold Erg here. That marketing is great. It's a powerful thing, but the most important thing needs to be that the protocol is sound. And that there's long-term use utility value there. Otherwise, it's just I don't know, one of these things where there's a lot of noise and then it fades, right? Duck pools has the potential to be very powerful in terms of getting liquidity into DeFi and bootstrapping that in the Ergo ecosystem, right? Rosen has the ability to open up a lot of opportunity for projects, not only on Ergo, to potentially kind of circumvent a lot of the centralized players in our space to access liquidity of other chains. Those are both big opportunities, and I think that definitely we should have a conversation about why that's important. But we also need to make sure that these things are engineered properly and function first. Otherwise, I don't know, what was that thing called, Pulse Chain? Where they talk for years. Oh, we're gonna,
you mean the one that bought all that gaudy freaking designer crap for that gaudy freaking weirdo? Yeah,
we're gonna we're gonna improve Ethereum. Spend years, a ton of marketing, and then in the end, what is it? It's basically a fork.
Yeah, he improved Ethereum for himself by catching it out and buying garbage with it. That's what he improved.
Well, yeah. So I get that everybody, loves the idea of marketing push and rapid growth, and I do think that that's coming in our ecosystem if we build things properly. That's the caveat. Otherwise, there's no point. And so I think that it's always important to take a step back and look at the long term. Now, we do live in a space where somebody creates the new Panda coin, and then it's like everyone's like, oh, Panda coin. And then it's like, oh, look, it's, I don't know, Bear coin or this animal or, Pluto coin or whatever. And it's like a raccoon mentality where it's like, what's the next shiny thing, right? And I get it. I mean, I understand that side of the market to some degree. But if we're going to say, okay, well, what can duck pools do now or Rosen do now to position itself to where in 5 years, they had a solid launch, a solid growth plan, and have now, established what they wanted to do and potentially can expand. I think that's a very different mentality than short term.
Yeah, we constantly get. I mean, we had a question today about why aren't we marketing? Well, building is marketing, and when I answered this last AMA, I answered this probably once every couple of AMAs. Why is the Ergo Foundation not spending money on marketing? It's not the Ergo Foundation. I mean, really, guys, it's not the Ergo Foundation's job to go out there and buy billboards and put Ergo on buses. The Ergo Foundation is there to govern the ecosystem. The Ergo Foundation is there to promote the development and expansion of core. In a truly distributed ecosystem, I mean, look, the marketing. Yeah, there could be marketing from someone in the ecosystem that can basically capitalize on the marketing. There's marketing from building. I mean, if we keep building, that's marketing. I mean, look, I know I keep plugging what we do at Zengate, but Zengate is marketing Ergo. We're building on Ergo. We're building solutions for the mainstream on Ergo. We're marketing Ergo. Other projects are doing the same thing. Spectrum is doing the same thing. Other projects in the ecosystem are doing the same thing. I mean, that's really marketing. If you put it in front of somebody and say, use this, use this. In fact, you don't put it in front of somebody, they use it, and then they find out that it runs on Ergo, if they even care. That's marketing. That's what marketing is. That's the way I see it. But what do you got to say about that, Joe?
I tend to look at it as like a set of communication protocols is the core, right? And so if we were to go and say, okay, well, there's some parallel or similarity between, a blockchain and P2P infrastructure and like TCP/IP, the internet protocol. How weird would it be if you're like, let's go put TCP/IP on a bus, right?
Yeah. It's
an airport, right?
I remember when they were trying to market ISDN, though. No, that's not the same thing, but I saw that on a bus before. ISDN back in like 96 or something.
Yeah, so I think that the best marketing is going to be number one, the market, right? Like that usually is where something starts to move, and then everyone, then I hate to say that, like, it catches the raccoon's attention, but it's like, oh, something shiny, and tends to get more traction. But from that perspective of looking at it as, okay, it's a set of communication protocols. What internet businesses market, the ones that are building and leveraging TCP/IP for their own good, and that's kind of exploded on its own. And so most people don't really know or care about the communication protocol in the back end. They just care what they can buy or look at or how they can entertain themselves, yada, yada, yada. Then I think long term, like if we're actually going to be a neutral protocol from the core, that's the best path forward. I see a lot of just weirdness in the space, like, we're going to sponsor Ergo Drone League or, some other things that different blockchain foundations do. And I just kind of scratch my head and say, okay.
I always, and look, I know that people are like, screw this. We need money. And then they go, we get the same criticism with Cardano. Oh, the Cardano Foundation or IOG should be giving money to projects to build on Cardano. It's like, no, they shouldn't. Why? Well, why do they have to give you money to? It's a distributed ecosystem. It's a decentralized ecosystem, not distributed. If it was distributed, then you could have a centralized entity there giving money and making and creating kingmakers, or being kingmakers and creating kings. But in a truly decentralized ecosystem, you can't have one centralized entity ruling what the hell happens in the ecosystem like that. It's ridiculous. It's like, we got this, and we got Polygon Labs, and they're giving us money. The core protocol builder is also giving you money to build in the protocol. Hold on, wait. A decentralized core protocol builder, or a core protocol builder of a decentralized protocol is giving you money to build on the protocol. It just sounds like bullshit. And there's a lot of that.
Let's be honest, Dan. There's a ton of bullshit in this space. You could look at something like, what's a good example? Luna was a great example. It was a stupid fucking idea from Genesis, but it came to market from big players. You look at who seeded that, big exchanges. And so what does that do? You get a lot of, let's say, attention. You get people that have quote unquote clout and are influencers and they're supposed to know what the hell they're talking about. Push it to market, and then I'm sure they got in very, very cheap. It became very popular. Not too many people were saying, okay, well, what are the assumptions here? Right. Mm-hmm. And so then what happens is, well, it kind of went up, and then people realize, oops, core assumptions and failure really matter in these systems, and everybody gets burned. And, it's unfortunate. It's a lot of the times in our industry, technology just doesn't matter. It's, what are the raccoons chasing today?
Yeah. Well, look, it is this whole thing that we still can't like beat out of the industry, and that is the move fast, break things approach of Silicon Valley of the 90s and early 2000s. You can't do that with these kinds of ecosystems. You can't do that with these kinds of data systems like a truly decentralized, but like Ergo, like Cardano, like one of these blockchains that really are built to be truly decentralized, to be truly community governed. You can't do that. You can't move fast, break things. You can't just push it out there and pump and dump the thing and expect the thing not to blow up. Or you can go out there and, create some fake bullshit ecosystem, like, and you know which ones I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about Solana. I'm not even talking about, Avalanche or whatever, any other VC coin. I'm talking about, look, the ones I'm talking about out there, that these VC coins that basically it's like Weekend at Bernie's, all of a sudden this coin that no one has heard of appears on the top 50 and they got like $1 billion market cap. And they got, and then they have all these infographic shredders like, oh, look, we got 50,000 projects building on our ecosystem. It's like, oh, we got all these different NFT projects. Like, oh, we got all these different like dApps and stuff. Like, from where? You guys just started. How the hell did you get 100 dApps built already on your ecosystem? It's complete bullshit. You can't buy an ecosystem. You can't buy decentralization.
That's popular because a lot of the times call it what it is. A lot of the times the tokenomics are structured to where, whoever is there first benefits. And so if I started a network and I said, hey, major exchanges, I've got this much for market making and marketing in my budget, and I can give you an allocation and you can be a validator and potentially, get first money and continue to earn first money for, a long time. A lot of the times they look at that and they're like, wow, that could be profitable. They don't really care about the tech. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing, if you don't care about the tech and if it is what it is, sooner or later, things are going to blow up on you because you're not baking cookies. Even when you're baking cookies, you don't want stuff to blow up on you. But especially if you're handling millions and billions of dollars and people's livelihoods, you don't want that shit to blow up on you even more.
I hate to say it, but I've had these conversations even with people at exchanges. They're like, well, the long-term assumption is this isn't going to be worth anything, but it's fun, it's sexy, and right now there's volume.
Yeah, there's volume. That's exactly it. Because the bottom line here is look. I see this on social media all the time. People, trying to ping, exchanges, ping Kraken. It's like, well, why don't you list Ergo? We got this and we got this and we got this. Look, I dealt with exchanges. Joe dealt with exchanges. I mean, I hate to break everybody's heart, but 99.9% of these exchanges, not all of them, but most of them don't give a shit about anything that we've built. Nothing. All they care about is how much money they can make on transactions and how much money you're going to pay them up front to list your coin.
Yeah. Well,
and that's it. And that's it. That's all really there is for centralized exchanges.
It puts a weird, when the crypto started, right? Exchanges built around Bitcoin. Okay. They built around Bitcoin. Now, projects are supposed to build around exchanges, and I think that in and of itself is a very unhealthy development for like the quality of this industry. Just full stop. Now, it is true. There's a lot of projects out there that traders have been kind of trained to love volume, and you can look out there and say, okay, well, within 2% of the float of their cap, you have X amount of dollars, let's say 20,000, let's say 100,000, and somehow they're turning over, $100 million of volume a day. So something's a little funny there. There's a ton of wash trading, unfortunately, in the crypto space.
There's $100 million of volume, but there's 7 transactions in the Explorer.
Yeah. What? That's true. I mean, a lot of the times, metrics can be influenced, and a lot of the times they are influenced just because it's almost like a prerequisite for doing business, because guess who is sitting in the middle taking a maker-taker fee? Exchanges, right? And they say, hey, if you want to come into our platform, you have to guarantee us a certain amount of trading volume. Well, how can you do that in an organic market, right? If you you can't. You can't do that in
I mean,
organic.
what are you going to do? Stand there over everybody's shoulders like, okay, come on, buy it, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, come on, buy, sell, let's go. Is that what you're going to do? I mean, that's the thing, like these guys, and we're speaking from personal experience. We're like, oh, well, you have to have this amount of volume. Let me pull that right out of my ass. Like, how are you supposed to do that without faking it? If it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there.
If it is, what's to say that the next day it's not? And
then that's the thing. And that's the thing. I mean, we have organic volume, but what happens in a bear market with a smaller ecosystem like ours is that, one day it's popping, the next day it's kind of dead, and it happens, and it's okay. It's fine. It doesn't always have to be a party, but you can't be sitting out there and saying, oh, well, today your volume was really bad. I don't know, might have to charge you this much money because you didn't just screw you. Okay. Like, it's just like, we're not a VC chain. We don't have unlimited funds coming out of our assets. It is what it is. It's an organic decentralized ecosystem. And if that's not what you're supporting, and you're saying that you're in this industry and that's not what you're supporting, you're a problem in this industry. Full stop.
I think that at the end of the day, people need to know their assumptions and pick their own risk profiles, right? And if people want to do degen stuff, it's not my business. That's the beauty of decentralization. It's just not my business. I'll sit there and I'll watch. And, good luck. When it comes to exchanges, same thing. Like, there's risk assumptions that everybody needs to know. If you look at, a lot of the changes that, people have kind of seen in the last 2 years, same thing. There are a lot of different risk assumptions that you're inheriting. Try to know what they are, try to understand them, try to protect yourself. If you want to go full degen, I hope the dice roll your way. But, it's also dangerous. But, good luck, have fun. It's crypto, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, it is crypto. And I think, that's a good place to leave it off for this week. It is crypto. Oh, and listen, I actually have this one last question that I was asked, and by Scott Hennessy and Dan, what shampoo do you use? And I'll tell you, I use the one that my wife leaves alone after she goes through all the stuff and hides it everywhere. I don't even know why. I come into the shower and like half my stuff is missing. I don't know what she does with it. So whatever I have available. Head and shoulders if I can, but sometimes it's just like whatever I have available. I'm in there. I need to wash up. I need to go to the office, and then I don't have time to spend 30 minutes looking for my shampoo. Married life. What are you going to do?
Yep. Michael Manos says an alcohol is technically a solution. Technically true.
Yeah, technically it is a solution for everything. Technically.
Well,
anyway. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us this week, and thanks for all the great questions. And so, of course, next week, same time, same channel, same YouTube channel, that is. And so until then, we will see you, and thanks for watching. Have a good day or night or whatever.
Yeah. Be well, everybody.